Hi guys, this is Aditi and welcome to Thread Story. Today I'll be showing you how to change colors in a ring, and I've made these Lifebuoy inspired danglers using this pattern. It's a fairly simple design. It's essentially like a single crochet all around. Like you can see, the tricky part is basically keeping it neat even on the flip side, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's get started. Okay, so what you're going to need are white thread, red thread, and crochet needle. In the threads, for the white I'm using an anchor number 40, and this thread tends to go well with a 1.65mm crochet needle. The red thread is of a similar size, although it is not an anchor thread, but that's what I had at hand and it's red, so that's what I'm going to use. Aside from that, you'll also need these plastic rings, a pair of them, one for each earring. These are plastic, they're about 14mm in diameter, and you'll be crocheting around this. This is going to be your base, and you have 2 of them. You're also going to need these red beads. This is only to make the earring, not part of the design. These are these red crystal like beads that I am using. They are red because it goes well with the design. It can be with complementary to whatever color you choose. It's only needed if you really want to make the earring, and only because if you need to dangle like I just showed you. You could attach the hook directly to the thread, but it doesn't quite dangle as well. So if you attach it to a metal bit instead, it dangles quite neatly, and that's what I use it for. And that's basically it. It's essentially a simple connector which is decorative with this red bead, and to make that I also use these metal findings. I don't know exactly what they're called, but essentially they're connectors, and let me zoom in and show you a bit, but they're basically metal rods which have a ring already made at one end, and it is open on the other side. So what you can do is essentially take the bead and slip it on like so, and you can just close the thing to make that connector, and you'll do one for each pair of earrings that you need. You'll also need earring hooks, of course. These are fairly easy to find, so just 2 of them, one for each pair. And of course you're going to need a pair of scissors and pliers. These are I think what they're called pointy nose pliers. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what you'd use for the wire bits, and if you're not doing that, it's fine. You'll also need a needle, a wide-eyed needle, to weave in the ends, and it's very important for this particular design, and I will tell you why in a bit, but make sure you have one of these wide-eyed needles as well. So let's get started with the actual design. Okay, so again, you have white and red in these patterns, and I am going to be starting with white. Feel free to start with red, it really does not make a difference. Again, like I said, you're going to be single crocheting all around, so take your starting color, white in this case, and make a starting chain. Let me just do this. Okay, you are ready with your starting chain on your needle. You're going to be putting it through your ring, and you are basically going to be doing a single crochet. Now this particular design has a lot of ends because you're going to be changing colors at least 3 times, so it's better if you weave in the ends as you go. So that's basically what I'm doing here. The starting end, I have basically just tucking it behind the working thread, and I'm going to be single crocheting over it so that I can weave it in as I go. Okay, so that is one single crochet. Now you, in this particular design with this combination of thread and the size of the ring, I basically can have 28 stitches fit in this ring, and I need 4 colors, so that's 7 stitches. Again, an odd number just works out very well, because when I put the metal finding in the middle, which is in the 4th one, I have 3 on one end and 3 on the other. So I'm going to be doing 7 single crochets in the white thread. Okay, so I have a total of 6 single crochets on my ring. I'm going to be doing the 7th one. For the 7th one, I am going to pull the thread through, but then I'm not going to complete the single crochet. This is where the red thread comes in, and let me just get that done. Yeah, so I've basically got the red thread, like you can see there's no knot or anything. I'm just going to be I just have it ready to go for a single crochet, just looped around my finger, and I'm going to be pulling the red thread through and to complete the single crochet, but not the white. So let me just do that. Okay. Alright, so I have pulled the red thread through. Now as you can see that because I did not complete the single crochet in white, I have one leg of this white thread like just hanging loose, and if you see all the patterns of a completed single crochet, you have 2 legs and this one just has one. So firstly, let me just pull the tail of the red, otherwise it has a tendency to slip through. Okay, yeah, so this is where the trick comes in, right? Like you need to make it look like a completed stitch when it is actually not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be again weaving in the loose ends, the short ends of both the red and the white, and I'm going to be weaving in the long end of the white along as well when I do my next single crochet in red. Now while just for this first stitch that you'll find that there's a a bump or a extra thread for the white, don't worry, we will take care of that in a bit. So let me just complete this one single crochet in red. There you go. Now we have kind of secured the threads. My red thread is a bit slippery, so it's not that tight, but you can do another one if you like. But essentially all I'm doing is, now that I have secured the threads in place, I am going to be pulling on the long tail of the white thread, and I'm going to be pulling it through to get rid of that ugly little extra bit of thread, and you'll see that it will disappear and just form an extra leg. Okay, just pulling through, pull lightly, not too tight. Just pulling through. Now I think I've pulled it through a bit too tight, because that leg now just seems shorter than the other. I'm just going to pull it out loose a bit and then adjust it when I do a few more red single crochets to secure this. Like I said, my red thread is not an anchor thread and it's kind of slippery, so it's not as secure as the number 40 thread would be. Okay, so let me do 5 more single crochets and I will see you at the end of the 6th one. Alright, so I have done 6. Don't mind me, I just keep adjusting this until I'm comfortable. I'm essentially pulling this thread up and down to make it kind of look like the second leg of that single crochet. Yeah, just securing it there. Alright, yeah, so like I said, like that leg is essentially just the extra thread from the long tail, so you can pull or like, you know, pull it back up to adjust the thing. Okay, I'm ready. Like, we have done one successful color change now, and it looks fairly neat from the front, and if you flip it over, it looks pretty neat from the back as well, fairly defined. So this is basically the principle of the color change in the ring, and I'm going to be doing that again. So let me just pull up this red thread and get ready. Again, this is the 7th single crochet, and that's where the color change happens. Essentially, I'm starting out the single crochet with the red thread, just like I did before, nothing new, and I'm going to be completing it with the white thread. Now, like you saw, I was struggling with the change in the last one, so I am going to do this, but I'm going to show you another trick as to how to do this neatly. Again, the red leg is loose, and this is the second trick that I use to make these color changes as neat as possible. Essentially, again, I'm going to be covering this, covering all the, you know, I'm going to be weaving in the long tail into my white single crochet. But before I do that, like I make it kind of a fold, and so that, like, you know, it sits flat against the ring, and I'm taking out the short ends because they're not going to be enough to you know, last till the next color change. And you should always, at least in this particular pattern, you should always do it end a thread on the color change. Okay, completing my single crochet, I'm going to be just doing 2 this time to secure it. Okay, so it looks much neater this time around. Red threads and secure, except for this ugly little extra thread, but that's just the tail. So I'm just gonna pull at it again gently, pull at it till it's complete, and there you go. And that's basically it, and your color change is done. Now let me just cut out the ends. I don't like weaving in ends, so I don't leave it for the end. I'm just gonna chop these off. Okay, brought in some extra things as well. Alright, chopping this off. This is why I recommend cutting your ends at a color change. If there's an extra red bit, it merges with the red, and a white bit merges with the white. You can't really make out. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so I'm going to be doing 4 more single crochets, and I'll see you at the end of those 6. Okay, so you'll often find yourself in this situation where you still have a lot more stitches to go, but they seem all done with space. The trick is actually to kind of, you know, squish them together, and that kind of helps get rid of these gaps that you can see, and it just looks so much better. So I'm just gonna squish them. I haven't finished my white crochets, so I'm just gonna squish these. Let me just do that. And I'm going to continue with my white single crochets. I've done about 4 until now, so let me do that. Okay, so I am on my 7th stitch, and I am going to be taking both through because this is the last color change. And this one's important to take both through because you need to secure all the white threads, otherwise you'll have a loose end. So this is how you do it. You take both through. Now that you have pulled them through, you are essentially going to be taking the red bit separately and close the white on its own. And okay, so I'm just going to do that. I am going to take the red out, just pull it along so that I don't lose it, and separate it, like, you know, push the white threads as far as possible to the back. You can also drop the red long tail now. So I'm going to be taking the white, complete it with a single chain, and we are closing it now, so you can snap it off, pull tight. So you have secured the white thread, and again, because you completed this stitch with the white this time, you don't have to worry about the tail like last time, but you are going to take that end and weave it in with the reds and 7 single crochets. Okay, so you're done. So you're going to be joining with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Just do a simple slip stitch, okay. And can close this with a chain. Before you cut it, just remember you should have a long tail. So I'm just actually going to pull this a bit longer, and I'll tell you why you need a long tail for this one. So you've done that. You can pull it a bit tight, but when you flip it over, you'll find that it's actually like a bit of an overlap over the white. So what you're gonna do is take a needle and just lift that up and push it onto the other side of the starting knot. There you go. That makes it symmetrical to the other color changes. Now pull it tight, and you're actually going to weave in the ends with the needle. So we're going to be doing that, but before that I'm just going to chop this end off before it gets in the way. So again, it's going to merge with the white, so that's not a problem. So just going to adjusting a bit, and there you go. I've chopped it off. There are a few ends that are like popping out from the sideways. I'm just going to chop those off as well and make it neat. Okay, I'm going to be taking a needle now, and the reason why you're going to be using a needle is because you have a lot of weak ends. So a needle, just make sure you're not pulling and tugging too much. So you're going to take that long red tail, thread it through your needle, and basically pull it through the first set of white changes. So let me just threaded the needle, and I have pushed, kind of inserted it into the first white chain. You'll have to do it in bits because it's a curved edge versus a straight needle. You may have to do it a multiple number of times, but I think I am able to get it in just 2. Okay, like you said, I'm gonna pull it out to the edge, a color change, and there you go. You're basically done with your design at this point. I'm gonna cut off this last end, and there you have it. You have a neat ring with 2 color changes, and this is what the final design looks like. This is my first video, so thanks for watching. I will be uploading more soon. See you soon.